Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler app. Hello.
Hello, spoiler app. Annihilation spoiler app. We will, for those of you just tuning in, we are going to talk about everything of this movie, the ending. So if you haven't seen it,
Especially the ending.
especially the goddamn ending. So if there's anything, if you haven't seen the movie already, stop it, go to your local Cineplex, and then come back and join us.
Or if you have no intention of seeing the movie.
Yeah, then just keep going.
Keep listening.
Yeah, you don't have to stop anything. Just keep listening.
So, but first, we're going to talk about our Patreon sponsors.
You know, this is
Let's
what you
do
get,
it.
Chris. If you go $50 a month at the patreon.com/comedyfilmnerds, you get a read on every episode.
It's pretty exciting.
I'm excited.
Yeah. And first, this is from Will Leonard. My wife, Katie Bagwell, has signed up for Bike MS, a fundraising ride that's changing the lives of people affected by MS and helping fuel progress toward a world free of MS. She's going to ride from Houston to Austin at the end of April. You can reach her donation page at bit.ly/KTMS150. If you can, please help her achieve her goal. The money raised will help fund amazing progress in MS research and programs and services that ensure people affected by MS can live their best lives.
Oh.
And now, the sister donation here that is...
Patreon people working together.
I love it. I love it. At the Audacity Performing Arts Project, we're still working our asses off to bring performing arts opportunities to school communities who cannot afford them. That said, we also know that charitable giving needs to take place across a broad spectrum of issues and across many communities. So to that end, if you sponsor Catherine Bagwell and her Bike MS fundraiser and make a token donation to Audacity, say $15, we will send you one of our amazing shirts as a thank you. Just use our donation link, audacityperformingarts.com/donate. That's audacityperformingarts.com/donate. And now the one Patreon ad tier that obeyed all the rules, supplyanddomandinvesting.com, because planning for retirement should be as easy as planning your next vacation. It just takes longer. Supplyanddomandinvesting.com.
All right.
Boom. Let's talk about Annihilation. Crazy ending on Annihilation.
What did you think of the ending?
Which ending? The ending in the 2001 pit, or the ending back at the science station?
The science station ending where he's obviously, when she finds the videotape where her
of him blowing himself up,
and you're like, oh, the alien took his form.
Yes.
So the guy that came back was the alien.
Was not her husband.
That's how they got out of the shimmer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the shimmer, so we're supposed to believe then that the aliens can exist outside of the atmosphere of the shimmer. That's why it's expanding or something. I don't know.
Yes, and the reason is because the alien took that human form, so was able to exist in the human world. So that's how I kind of interpreted it. Whereas they were evolving and adapting to life on Earth. So what that means is then when they're taking human form, they can actually, we don't know. It never got into like what purpose it was to colonize the planet, to take over humanity. We never got those questions answered. But I think that was the purpose.
Yeah, and then so that's sort of explained then when she goes to the lighthouse, which is sort of ground zero for the shimmer.
Yes, and there's a hole.
And there's a hole that goes into some
Harry Potter cavern.
Yeah, shimmer cave, shimmer Hogwarts.
Yes.
She meets the lead alien, who just mirrors everything she does.
Right. So she tries to hit it, it hits her, and mirrors all of her movements.
And then she gets out.
Yes.
She gets the shimmer thing to blow itself up.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets out, which was like kind of interesting. But then I didn't like the ending where she goes back. She knows her husband is not who he is. It's not her actual husband.
Right.
Oscar Isaac.
And then we see her eyes change and realize that it's not her. She's an alien as well.
So, yeah.
Or she's some hybrid.
She's some hybrid as they introduced, everything is mutating inside the shimmer.
Yes.
Right? They find that crocodile that has
like shark teeth.
But
what's interesting is now that I did have a problem with because of the rules set up by the shimmer, whereas the DNA refracts back on itself. So the DNA would have to already be there to actually start to change and evolve, there wouldn't have been any sharks in that part of the world.
In a swamp.
In a swamp.
Yeah,
yeah.
there's no
Yeah, so they wouldn't have shark teeth. It would be something else, like the way the extremely creepy bear evolved, like from DNA that was already there.
Yeah, weird javelina bear.
Yeah, that like then merged with one of the women
that
and
it
was
killed,
like,
that had its voice.
Oh, horrifying.
Which I thought that was kind of cool. And it was like, help me. It was like, wow.
It was really creepy.
And when they're all tied up and the weird bear is coming in close and kind of sniffing him, and they're all just sitting there petrified, which is great. Mm-hmm. Which is great sort of terror or horror or whatever you want to call it.
For sure. Now,
but yeah, the ending, I just was like, this is bull. I didn't.
Well, let me read you a little bit of trivia about that.
Oh, Christopher Mancini.
So you're not the only one who felt that way. Due to a poorly received test screening, David Ellison, a financier at Paramount, always probably the most fun people to deal with, financier, became concerned that the film was too intellectual and too complicated.
Who'd you screen it for?
And demanded changes to make it appeal to a wider audience, including making Portman's character more sympathetic and changing the ending. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Producer Scott Rudin, who is a giant producer in Hollywood, who actually has a fair amount of clout, sided with Garland in his desire to not alter the film, defending the film and refusing to take notes. Rudin had final cut. So this is one instance where the studio tried to change it and they were not able to. So this is the vision that Alex Garland wanted to convey. This is it.
I guess I wish I had read all of the books to know
all three.
That
would have been more than Garland read.
Right, which is I think that was a mistake.
Yeah.
I understand the thinking of I'm going to just go in order, but I think a director get as much information as you can and then make a decision.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Why limit your vision or your view of this universe that has already existed by an author? Why that doesn't? I don't get that.
Right.
So I would really like to know, because I enjoyed the intellectual science fiction of this alien life form is mutating in ways that we don't understand. We talked about it with John Schnepp on the regular episode, which is really cool, and his insight into why he liked the movie so much more than certainly I did, and a little bit more than you did. Mm-hmm. To me, the ending felt like the ending felt like sort of the cheap cop out versus.
You know what would have been interesting? Like the ending, like it makes you go like, well, I want to see what happens next. Like it's interesting. It's the first book in a trilogy. Like what's clear about the ending, which I liked, is that they're in this science facility that's obviously run by the military. Everyone talking to Natalie Portman is in hazmat suits. So as she was recounting her experiences in the Shimmer, it was clear that her and her alien husband were not going anywhere. So you know they have these two basically aliens, or possibly an alien and an alien hybrid. What happens next? What do they do with them? Are they people? Are they allowed to be, taken out? Are they allowed to leave? Or are they going to die outside the Shimmer? Are they unstable? Like I feel like there's a lot more story that we didn't get, that the movie just kind of ended at a place that I'd like to see what happens next.
Well, the thing so Tessa Thompson's character, she played Josie Radnick, right? She was the one that turns into the trees.
Yes. She had an interesting speech right before.
Because you see all that. And I thought that was a really cool visual, kind of creepy, but also kind of like
you see her slowly starting to sprout.
Yeah, and she turns this corner. I'm like, and those were actual people,
right? Probably
that just became these sort of living tree things, because that was the sort of thing that was at the end, especially when Natalie Portman said, "No, that I wasn't fighting." When someone goes, "Yeah, but the thing hit you," it was just mirroring what I was doing,
right? Sort
Sort of a commentary on, well, if we treat the Shimmer with violence and military, that's what it's going to react. Which is that is sort of an age-old alien contact premise, which is one that I like. You know, we are not the most evolved people in the universe. We're the like simpleton, shoot a gun at it because it's different and it scares us. So I like that theme, and I like the theme of this thing is just mutating into whatever, and it can mutate into a beautiful, peaceful thing. Like you can just mutate into
like those deer,
or the flower people.
right?
So you're still a living thing. And it was the thing that John talked about, which is we don't understand it. It's well beyond our three-dimensional universe. And so we're trying to kind of understand and explain it. So when Natalie Portman comes back and says the thing didn't hit me, it was just mirroring. I was like, oh, this is cool. And it's her and her new alien husband.
And what would their kids be like?
What are their kids going to be? Are they going to homeschool them?
Yeah.
Are they do they go to public school? Do they have the money for private school? Is the Shimmer private school system?
Right.
What is it?
Yeah. What's it like?
Is it more of a, socialized medicine?
Is it a magnet?
Is it a charter school in Shimmer? I don't know. But like, it's opening up the doorway to all of these cool what ifs, which is what good science fiction does. The gleam in the eye of her change was sort of, it felt like the sort of the type of endings the Simpsons would always mock.
Right.
Of like, dun-dun.
Right.
It just felt like a bad horror movie
Like
ending.
an Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah. And it's like, and maybe I'm going to be proven wrong, and maybe somebody who's listening right now has read all three books and goes, no, Graham, actually, it's a really cool thing that happens. But just knowing Hollywood, having not read the books, I'm like, man, like...
I don't even know how well it's doing. If it's like, are we going to get a sequel, or are we? This might be it.
It's not doing well.
Yeah, so this is probably going to be it for the Annihilation trilogy.
It had about a $40 million budget, which is actually pretty.
It's a very rare mid-range budget.
It is a very, very rare mid-range budget. It's. I just. Man, I wanted, it's funny. I listened, hearing what John Schnepp said in the regular episode. Yeah, its gross to date is about $26 million.
Right.
It had a $40 million budget.
Now, it'll probably make some money overseas.
Sure, I'm sure it'll get its money back at some point. But like, I wanted to be as swept up by it as John was in terms of loving the science fiction. And we talk a lot about it on the show.
I think it also got, again, it's that Hollywood thing of like, it gets, you save the effects budget for the end. There was a lot of like flashy, literally flashes of, flashy flashes at the end of, when they went down into the rabbit hole. Like I feel like, oh, is this where all the CG effects are going to be, is now towards the end. But it's like, you don't necessarily have to do that, especially with a movie that is setting itself up to be a more personal journey, which is what this was. Like I feel like, don't overwhelm me with effects at the end when you don't have to. Like, the chilling parts of the doppelganger, her, seeing the footage of her husband blowing himself up, like, all that stuff is fine. Then you don't need a giant glowing ball and sparkles of energy and all this extra, visual effects that sometimes takes away from the small personal nature of the story.
Yeah, and I just felt like it's almost like knowing that it was a book. I feel like the filmmaker, and again, we've talked about this before. I love Ex Machina. That's really great science fiction, and I like this filmmaker, and hats off for this.
We're still gonna see his next one.
Yeah, and I almost felt like it was not fully realized enough. Like it sort of was like.
So did it beat Black Panther?
Fell a little short.
Yeah.
So when I started to, so when they start getting picked off, right?
Right.
First by the alligator shark,
right,
white buffalo thing,
yeah,
which was terrifying, and they
Yeah.
had to fight it. And Natalie Portman is a soldier; she's a badass. She gets on a knee and just unloads a clip into this
Right.
thing. I just had some, like I like I'm conflicted on this thing. So all the women sent in there all had these sort of broken personality or tragic things in their lives that they were battling going in there. And they've sent, as they establish, and this is in the trailer too, but they've sent a bunch of teams in there. None of them have come back except her husband's the only one that has come back. And
did he?
And did he come back? And then we see the video where that was great. Where they find the video, they cut open that dude, and his insides are swimming around.
Awful.
It was just horrifying, but in a great thriller.
Right.
Oh my God, this is crazy way.
And John made a good point. It was like it really reminiscent of like The Thing.
Yes,
that's what it felt like.
The Thing and Aliens.
Weird, crazy imagery of like alien life, but also mutating human bodies, all kind of put together. Crazy, weird stuff like that.
And then when they find that guy in the pool and he's just on the wall, spread out like a mosaic, that was insane.
Weird. But his legs were still there.
Yeah, and so it's like, is the Shimmer evil? Is it coming to conquer the earth, or is it just like it's this mutating form, and you can decide to be a tree, or you can be eaten by it, or
right. What do you want to do with the Shimmer? You have some Shimmer options.
I feel like they introduced a lot of stuff, but then there was like a little lack of follow through for me.
Well, there's definitely some lack of follow through on a couple of things. One of them was the time discrepancies, like how time was lost in the Shimmer, but then that never got explored any further after that.
Yeah, and then
we're missing rations. How long have we been in here?
It looks like 3 days worth.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Jennifer Jason Leigh's character, well, she's got cancer, so she wants to die.
She's not coming back.
She's not coming back. We don't really go into much more after that. And then
technically in the Shimmer, it would make like a cancer monster. It would
Right.
take her DNA and combine it with something else. Or a cancer tree or something.
Something.
Yeah.
And then, so Natalie Portman is having these flashes of when her husband disappeared or something, or no, before her husband disappeared, she was having an affair with a colleague.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, when they first introduced that, I'm like, oh, she's going to really have to face her demons.
Right.
Just sort of like, you know what I mean? Like she doesn't have that. I thought, oh, this is going to be really interesting.
Well, technically, if your husband's an alien, you don't have to confess anything. Is it cheating if he's an alien?
Yeah. I'm not really cheating.
Yeah.
My real husband blew himself up.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. I was like, oh, I thought that was going to kind of crack open this doorway. And when they entered, when they're on the boat with Shepard, and she says, we all have something. I lost a child. She's a recovering addict.
Right.
She used to cut herself. You're like, oh, we're going to really get into these stories. Nope.
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
Wasn't enough time.
There wasn't enough time. So it's it's one of those things where they sort of introduce stuff and
also, how did they all pass the psychological profile to go into a military expedition into the unknown? It's like, well, then all of you would have been disqualified from this mission.
And you're all given weapons?
Yeah.
Did they go through a boot camp? That was the only thing I was just like, then put some... What I wanted to see more interesting was, look, we sent in a military team. We sent in a science. We need
a bunch of broken women to go in now.
I mean, well, yeah, but I that was what they were sort of attempting was look, we need to send in something else because what we have sent hasn't come back.
Mm-hmm.
So let's try something else. But it just was
and it made sense to me for Natalie Portman's character. It was like ex-soldier and scientist together. I'm like, makes perfect sense. Send her in.
Yes, get a biologist in there. Mm-hmm. The one was, I'm an EMT from Chicago or something. Okay, sure.
Right.
Bring a medic in there. But then a girl that's a scientist, she's super smart, but a cutter. Okay, and then the other one and then just a psychologist, Jennifer Jason Leigh with cancer.
Who's dying.
I get the intention of these people with a unique set of skills or whatever to go in there, but just the execution just sort of felt like not fleshed out enough from a script standpoint.
Right. It's probably fleshed out more in the book.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I think that is the dilemma of when you get a book, like 3 books
Right.
that are so in depth that probably explain, like I'm really anxious to read the books because I bet you the books are like, wow, like you can't put the book down because it's so heady and so.
Aaron, have you read any of the Annihilation books?
No, sir.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It just felt like, I mean, again, there's some, we always nitpick on the spoilers.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of stuff I like. There's a lot of stuff I was intrigued by. But then.
It was an interestingly put together, kind of sci-fi head trip. It really was. Like, it really felt like that kind of surreal, ethereal, had that dreamlike quality to it, especially as they got closer to the lighthouse when the landscape was changing. So it really, it really got, like, even like the production design and the art direction and just the way trees and crystal structures would appear. And I just loved the kind of juxtaposition of all these weird, like giant crystals and almost like alien formations. And then in the middle is the lighthouse, which is ground zero. Like that still looked like a lighthouse.
Right.
Like, so I thought that was kind of cool. But then when they went in, it was all crazy.
I mean,
inside.
I like the cool stuff of the Shimmer's been around for 3 years. Look how much it's growing. Mm-hmm. When they get in there,
and they knew that's where ground zero was.
Yeah.
Was the lighthouse.
They knew the lighthouse was ground zero. They get in there and they're like, oh, this old military base used to be their old perimeter. Mm-hmm. And so like in the beginning when when Natalie Portman is talking to Jennifer Jason Leigh, and literally in the window behind her is the fucking Shimmer, like 200 yards away or whatever. And you're like, wow, this is close.
It's getting closer.
It's getting closer. I just wanted more, like, I wanted to hear more analysis. We only know this.
More exposition.
A little more exposition in terms of this is what we figured out in 3 years. It's not much, but the teams went in there. We can't stop it. No one comes back.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, because it's sort of, it's they set it up very much as it's a mystery, to figure out what the Shimmer is and why they're here. And if the intention of this is going to be a trilogy of films, well, then I guess that's where they want to go. But I felt a little
I don't see it happening.
I don't see it happening. And I was like, and the ending of, she's one of the aliens too. Like, I was like, oh man.
Or is she a hybrid? That's the other thing too. Like, what is it? But I think my interpretation was that she was an alien. Like, I don't think there was a middle ground. Like, he was an alien, she's an alien, but we never really saw what happened to her and how the alien came back. But I loved the way it was set up. Like, just her husband coming back and not able to answer any questions. Like, I don't know where I was. I don't know what happened, and I don't feel good. And then he's being taken to the hospital, and then of course all the Black Ops cars, come and take him back to the facility, and then we're off to the races on the story. Like, I thought like the setup and start was like really cool. I'm like, yeah, I'm on board. This is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I even like the setup of her teaching class. She's teaching looks like graduate students or something like that. Mm-hmm. So we see how smart she is. We see that this is all about cells and genes mutating and all this stuff. You're like, oh, great. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm awesome. This is, you see that there's something with this colleague. There's some history with this colleague. Her husband's been gone for a year, missing or dead. Like, that's established very quickly. And so she's got to fight demons. And then, Jennifer Jason Leigh is sort of creepy, government doctor,
right?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Which is cool. With an agenda. But then she meets the team and they're just sort of like
grunts.
Mm-hmm. That's when I was just like, give me a little more.
By the way, there wasn't a lot of staff at that secret government facility.
I know.
There was definitely not as many people. I thought there'd be more scientists here.
And no one's had any, it just, they've been there for 3 years, not 6 months.
Right.
So I don't know. And there was intriguing stuff, but then it's the ending with her eye thing. I was like, oh, so she's an alien and they're bad? Like, because they were doing this like, well, maybe the aliens are good, or maybe it's just some type of new life force that we're not familiar with and we have to adapt to it.
I mean, they made it a real point to saying, like, it's not destroying things, it's creating something new. And also the explanation of the DNA bending back over on itself and changing things. Like there was a lot of discussions about that. Like, okay, well, what exactly is happening? Is DNA is merging? Is DNA being replicated? Is DNA being mimicked and changed? And and ultimately that's what we saw towards the end is, kind of an invasion of the body snatchers kind of thing. It was almost like a pod person gets created from, the mirroring of a person.
This just popped into my head too, which is interesting what you said, but this was a plot device I just found to be kind of, you didn't need. She doesn't tell them that her husband was in the last unit when they find out. That
I forgot about that.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need, we need some sort of conflict within the team. No, you don't. They're in the fucking shimmer.
There's plenty of conflict.
There's plenty.
Yeah.
I hate that kind of crap where it's like the conflict is what they're dealing with and how they're going to figure it out.
Yeah, there's a guy with his insides all over the wall. That's fine. That's enough.
Yeah, and just the video like, oh my God, why did you, and they could just have a reasonable conversation or just, oh my God, your husband just cut that dude open and his insides were moving.
Right.
And then the one girl goes, no, they weren't. Like, they just complete denial. Like, I was just like, okay. So none of these teams came back. You're seeing all this crazy shit happen. Wouldn't you be in there going, okay, anything's possible.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Versus just automatically going, no, I don't want to accept this. You don't want to accept what? The white,
which part?
The white shark crocodile that like the crazy mutate like.
Then one of the skull bear monster who made off with one member of the team.
Wouldn't you have a team of people? Wouldn't you send a team of people in there who are just like so briefed for be ready for anything and get us back data in some capacity? Like, the radios don't work, and Jennifer Jason goes, yeah, none of them have ever worked. So there was no like, let's try something new on this fifth try. I mean, you know what I mean? Just shit like that where I'm like, this unit was acting as though they were the first ones ever. I don't know. Like, I know no information comes out of there, but wouldn't there be just attempt after briefing after like training and it versus just like.
So less teenagers looking for the Blair Witch.
Yes. That was my problem. You want to send all broken women, great, but give me broken women who are like, the top of they all should have been at Natalie Portman's level of whatever they were.
Right. Experts in their
field, super sharp, trained, and like Natalie Portman was the only one going, oh, all right, this is weird. We've never seen this before.
Right. Well, she was the quote, scientist soldier who would basically keep the team together.
Right. And the rest of them were like, this is crazy. I've never heard of that before. It can't be true. And it was like, a little too much Blair Witch. Good.
So, wow, I think we've covered a fair amount of ground on this movie. I mean, ultimately, though, I will say this. I know, like you said, we do nitpick on the spoiler eps. I did like it. There was a lot of stuff that I did like. There was, the imagery was horrifying, so it was definitely in sci-fi horror territory. And I liked the intellectualness of the story and of the film. So, looking forward to seeing his next film. It won't be Shimmer 2.
No, I like the effects, especially as she got to the lighthouse. Those sort of crystal trees.
I thought those were cool. Yeah,
those were cool. And then how they were affected when she sort of
the shimmer broke down.
When the shimmer broke down. Mm-hmm. But that's the other thing they established. The shimmer broke down, and now there's two aliens living in planet Earth. That's my problem, is they introduce all this really cool intellectual stuff.
And weren't going anywhere. I mean, they're being talked to through hazmat suits, so they're there for the duration in a science facility. And
if you're going to introduce all this really intellectual sci-fi stuff, which I liked, then make everybody intellectual. Like there's this, it's like the Matt Damon Martian movie. There was no like grunts. I mean, it's mainly him, obviously, but the team on the ground, the team in the space.
Oh, it was all people who worked for NASA.
All
or
PhD,
JPL.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Highly intelligent people. That's who we have on this team. Mm-hmm. Not like 5 people volunteered because they all went through breakups.
Right.
You know, so that's what I wanted to see more of, like that. If you're going to introduce that much highbrow stuff, which is great, then make that all the way across the board.
Right.
So I don't know.
That's, fair point.
Yeah.
So, is this his second film, Alex Garland?
Yeah, his first one was Ex Machina. This is
that was
only
his
his
first
second
one?
feature. He's
Yeah.
worked on, he's written and done other stuff, but
Right. So, he's a talent that's always fun to watch develop. Like,
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see his next movie.
yeah,
So,
that's the other thing too. Like, even if this was kind of a miss for me,
Still on board.
I love the swing.
Yeah.
I love the big swing. I love the
Right.
the idea of the shimmer, the coolness of what it looked like when they got inside of it.
Yeah.
The way they showed the mutation stuff, the production design of it was cool. And again, I think I really feel like when I read the book, I'm going to go, oh,
Right.
this was just too much to put into 2 hours.
Right.
That's my guess. This is what typically can happen with this kind of stuff. But yeah, good. It's overall, I'm glad I went to the movie. I did have a good time
Good.
overall.
Food theater?
No, but reclinable seats.
Of
I mean, I snuck my own food in.
Nice.
It was good. So yeah. So that's our episode, everybody. Go like us on YouTube.
Yes, please do.
And like and subscribe and share the YouTube clips on your social media. That's a great way to grow our YouTube channel.
That always helps.
That's a free thing. Likes, comments, YouTube checks that algorithm.
Yep.
And go to comedyfilmers.com, go to grahamelwood.com for tour dates and the FNX show and all that stuff.
And I'm at chrisjmancinionline.com. And also check out, remember, go to comedyfilmnerds.com, shop in the store, plenty of stuff. The Comedy Film Nerds Guide to Movies we haven't plugged in a while. You want to check it out. It's got some amazing essays about all different genres of film and great writers like Mike Schmidt, Jackie Cation, Laura House, Neil T. Weekly, all your favorites, and even Alan Havey and Greg Proops.
It's a great book, guys. Check it out. Also, Earbuds is available as a download and a DVD.
Yes, make sure you check it out for sure.
All right. Thank you so much. My name is Graham Elwood.
And I'm Chris Mancini. And as always, remember, Han shot first in the shimmer.
Han shot first! With kitten heads across the land, waiting